Hi, I'm Chris from Airwindows, and I am introducing a new plugin today. Not a new plugin, bit of an old plugin, but it's been one of the most successful ones that I had in Audio Unit, and it is now being released on Mac and Windows VST and Audio Unit again for free. It's called Channel4. Let me show it to you. Now, this is my horrible music. If you don't like this music, use your own. It is free. You can do that. Now, you'll notice I'm distorting on the output there. But if I turn it on, Channel 4 does three different things. One of the things it does is this drive control. And the drive control goes from a cleaner sound, which you'll notice doesn't change the peaking of the output, to a gently saturated sound that's a lot fatter, and it does restrict the output to a 0 dB clip level. The thing about the drive is that if you do it halfway, it's not an input gain or an output gain, it's a dry-wet control on the process. What that means is if you're using half of it, you're getting half of the signal through the distortion and half of the signal dry, so the saturation curve smooths out in a particularly useful way. I'll show you what the drive thing sounds like. Without it, it's fairly but not completely similar to what is coming in, and with it, it's a lot fatter. And then if we pull it to about half, it's a pretty appealing tone fattener. Tone patterner? Never mind. Now, the console type, this is the last place that I've ever used this. I stopped using references to other people's products, but Channel has always had those labels. This is from measurements of various pieces of hardware. Like Neve had a slew restriction of a certain amount, API somewhat less, SSL less still, but still more of a slew restriction than just raw computer math. And they also had low frequency restrictions, and the Neve had the least low frequency restriction, SSL the most, and so on. So they're kind of voiced in well, I can actually show that by soloing this and then replacing it with a test oscillator. And then after channel 4, I can instantiate one of my favorite meters, which is Voxengo's span. I really like span. Span is a wonderful thing. Saves me from ever having to make a meter. Now, if I turn this on, we have a nice bright output there. You can go right up to the Nyquist frequency, which is this. At some point I might make a video explaining things like what a Nyquist frequency is. For now, take it as read that that is the highest noise, the brightest noise you can get out of it. And what we've got here is a, you know what, I'm going to put a gain plug in after this so that you can still hear what it's doing, but it's not annoying anymore. So let's take that right down and bring this up not to 0 dB. Let's say it's a few dB down, and we'll edit this so that I can still see what's happening. Now, if we turn channel 4 on with the drive all the way off, it's not going to affect anything else, but it is going to affect the high frequencies. And you'll see it now. I'll turn it on. You'll notice that that high stuff dropped back a little bit, even in the brightest model, the SSL model. if we distort it, you'll see an even more striking result that's getting bulked up, but it refuses to get any brighter past a certain point. Now, if we were at 0 dB, that's going to hit it even harder. And you can hear that in the output as well. That when we have loud signal coming through this, and we turn on channel 4 and engage the high frequency, it's the same thing as the plugin that I've already released, Slew. It's cutting it right back, especially when it's really loud. And then when we set it to other settings like Neve, that's even more severe. So pretty much when you give it lots of extremely aggressive high frequencies, you're going to hear more of an effect out of it. This is parallel to the limitations of the respective preamplifiers in, or at least the mixing channels of the consoles that you'd be using. Now, this is not actually a convolution kernel, nor is it a model of the circuitry or something like that. It's much simpler. Channel has always been a freebie for that reason. It's just this very simple calculation of a fattening effect and a kind of high pass and a kind of low pass. And rather than it being a low pass, it is a slew clipper, meaning that when we do this and wipe it out, when I pull this back, it's going to return to the normal white noise sound. I'll show you like this. We can take it down to this, and then it barely has an effect. In fact, if I set it to SSL, I think it won't have an effect. Yep. But if we put it as Neve, which alters the tones of things, then 10 dB down white noise is still touched by the Neve processing. Or I shouldn't say Neve processing because it's really not. That's just marking the levels at which some tone shaping is being done. Now, how about we ditch out of this stuff? Oop, having demonstrated that. Ditch out of the gain plugin. So we're back to having channel 4 on here. And I'll put on the horrible music again. Again, if you don't like this, then make your own music and use channel 4 on that. And you'll hear how it alters the where the console type affects it, even on drive. Listen to the extreme high frequencies after I take it off a solo. Now I'll turn it on. And then back off. There's some extra highs when it's off, and then when you turn it back on, it's kind of glued together in a special way. This is not obvious, it's subtle, but I've just demonstrated with the white noise that it is happening. And lastly, if you found that not a thing, one thing I can do is instantiate channel 4. You'll note that I'm running consoles because I want to have the cleanest possible sound to drive into this. But just for lulz, what I can do is turn off all these console channels. Select all of these things. And that's off as well. And remove this. And then what I'm going to do is get this playing and instantiate channel 4 on every single one of those outputs. It should come in with no gain boost, but it will come in with the slew clipping and the high pass engaged anywhere. So listen to whether you can hear the difference between these two things. This is literally nothing. Oh, except for here's another one that should be coming along at some point. now, console or channel. Or channel 4, I'm sorry. And then I have to turn it back off again. And this is without using the drive control that'll fatten it up a little bit. And I can do that too. Here, check this out. So this is without anything. I'm going to switch back over to the neve setting, the dark setting, with everything set to half drive. That's managed to make everything a lot bigger. Now the thing about this is Channel 4 is meant to be a thicken everything up and apply some processing to the channel, apply some tone shaping to the channel in a way that console is not. Console is not supposed to change the sound of anything at all. And Channel 4 is designed to change the sounds of everything in a very gentle way that's not going to hurt the sound no matter what you do. And so they're kind of complementary. Like Channel 4 is what you would use in place of one of the expensive, fancy console modeling plugins that, you know, eat your CPU and all that kind of stuff. It's going to be clean, but it's going to do some of the same things. And you'll get an effect that's got a certain fullness and richness to it. But while we're at it, let's turn on console as well, because that's also free. If you can have channel, you can have console. And the reason that's true, I'll explain as I'm turning all of these on, is that airwindows is now Patreon supported. My payment processor, Kagi, went out of business, still owes me hundreds of dollars. And rather than hunt down some horrible shopping cart people or something like that, I decided to go on Patreon and start putting out the library of airwindows plugins for free in exchange for being supported by presumably a whole lot of people at about $1 a month. What people can afford to do, because I've been selling plugins for a lot of years at $50 a pop, and I've been supporting them very well, and they're good plugins. But it seems like people can't afford $50 a plugin anymore, so it's on me to figure out something to do about that. This is my attempt. So here is what you get, and just for fun, what I'm going to do is turn the drive all the way to 100 so that I'm controlling the output and having it be no hotter than clipping. And I'm going to do a little A/B here after having turned all of this on. This is channel shaping the sound of all of the individual tracks and of the bus, and console opening up the space inside the mix and stuff. This is a sort of 1-2 punch of airwindows plugins. Used to be you had to buy console for $50 and then channel was free. Now they're both free, and you can go back and forth between a raw digital bus mix and this without paying anything, I might add, because it's all free. And I'm pretty sure that those of you who weren't getting what console was laying down will be able to pick up on what Channel 4 is doing and vice versa. So on the whole, the combination of the two things should be good. And again, sorry about the music. Got to deal with that. This is the only kind of music I can do. Thank goodness I'm not doing a Patreon for that, right? But here's what you get. This is with it on, and I'll switch it off and then turn it back on while we're playing. And I'll edit it so that it just switches. you can use these plugins. They are not $50, they're free. You can go to airwindows.com and download them. And my Patreon is at patreon.com/airwindows. Thanks for your time.